rounds of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs are now over, and things were really interesting this time around. From several drivers crashing specifically in Turn 4 at Texas, to everyone waiting for carnage at the Charlotte Roval until the last possible moment, to a rule violation that wasn't a rule violation, but still technically was a rule violation, even though it didn't happen how the rules stated it needed to, which caused the rule to be changed? Yeah, I'm confused too. The gist of it is that we have got quite a bit to talk about. As with the round of 16, we're going to focus on the drivers that were eliminated here in the round of 12, as well as recapping the races that took place within the round before making adjustments to our predictions. Again. Before we go into the eliminated drivers, there's one particular one that stood out to me this time around, and you probably know who it is. William Byron probably had one of the most 360 flip rounds in the history of the elimination format. That's not to compare it to things like the 2015 round of 8, which was a 180 flip round for Joey Logano, thank goodness. Now, William Byron's case was that he was above the cut line, then spun Denny Hamlin out under caution at Texas. He was docked 25 points and $50,000. This put Byron below the cut line. Hendrick Motorsports set an appeal and won, resulting in the 25 points being restored to Byron and the $50,000 fine being doubled to $100,000. This put him back above the cut line and ultimately helped him stave off elimination. This was a major blunder on NASCAR's part, and it needs to be mentioned because they claimed they were too focused on Martin Truex Jr.'s wreck to see Byron spinning Hamlin. I understand the need to focus on one particular event, but that argument is flimsy when there are cameras everywhere, documenting everything. You're seriously telling me that the fans saw that spin under caution before NASCAR officials did? I'm sorry, but I don't think that makes very much sense. They ultimately docked Byron the points as mentioned, but they didn't do anything about it during the race. Hamlin wasn't even allowed to return to his spot on the track despite being wrecked under caution, which was a very stupid decision by NASCAR. Hamlin ultimately never caught back up to Byron, finishing 10th while Byron finished 7th. I'm sure that people out there are going to disagree, but this could have and should have been handled a lot better. The rule that ultimately got Byron docked points before having them returned to him via an appeal from Hendrick Motorsports got changed, so that instead of just wrecking someone under caution, getting you penalized, it is now wrecking or spinning someone under caution. Why it wasn't like that before is beyond me. In any case, let's now focus on the drivers who were eliminated in this round. This time, I got 3 out of the 4 predicted drivers correct, and there's quite a few stories to talk about. Alex Bowman ended up getting eliminated in a way nobody expected. He was one of the Turn 4 crashes at Texas, but ultimately ended up receiving concussion-like symptoms and had to sit out at Talladega and the Charlotte Roval, ensuring his elimination. For both those races, Noah Gragson drove the 48 car in his place. I did predict Bowman would be eliminated, but it shouldn't have happened like this. It just shouldn't. I was completely right about Austin Cindric. In the first playoff prediction video, and briefly touched in the round of 16 recap, I said that Syndra would make it to the round of 12, but be eliminated here. And I ended up being completely right. Even though he put up a tougher fight than I expected, he was ultimately spun out during the last restart of the Roval while fighting for as many positions as he could possibly snag, which ultimately led to his elimination. Again, advanced to the round of 12 by a few points and got eliminated there. You've heard this before. I'm right. Well, yet another predicted Championship 4 contender was eliminated. This time it was Kyle Larson, the defending champion. He ended up having a mechanical issue late at the Roval, which sent him 5 laps down by the time he was back out on the track. All that was saving him was his points cushion he had built up. He just needed the race to stay green to the end, and he would advance to the round of 8 whether Christopher Bell passed Kevin Harvick or not. And, well, the exact opposite happened. Several cautions and even a brief red flag got thrown in the closing 10, 15, 20 laps. Those cautions, along with some bonsai passes by Chase Briscoe and a block thrown by his teammate Cole Custer that ultimately got investigated by NASCAR for potential playoff rigging, ate right through Larson's points cushion and resulted in him getting eliminated. Pretty much what I said about Daniel Suarez happened. He never really had much action in the playoffs, barring a bit of action between himself and Corey LaJoie, that I think was the final factor that got him eliminated. Nothing too fancy over here. He slipped under the radar and wasn't able to get enough points to advance. Now, let's break down the 3 round of 12 races, starting off with Texas. There's the aforementioned Byron Hamlin incident. Several drivers crashed in turn 4 with the exception of Kevin Harvick, who crashed in turn 3. Tire issues occurred indiscriminately. Bowman crashed and got that concussion I mentioned before. A brief weather delay. Tyler Reddick ultimately won the race, extending the non-playoff winner count to 4 out of 4 races. Now, before you get confused about this, Tyler Reddick was eliminated in the previous round, officially making him a non-playoff driver for this one. Talladega was about average. Gragson filled in for Bowman, Logano and Syndra were among the drivers collected in the big one, Bell spun on a pit road, and Chase Elliott ended the streak of non-playoff winners by winning the race here and locking himself into the next round, which was definitely his saving grace during the Roval's closing laps, which I'm about to get to. Up until the last dozen or so laps, the Roval was caution-free, barring the stage breaks. There were a few minor incidents, such as Ross Chastain missing the chicane early in the race. Suarez made contact with Bubba Wallace on pit road after Wallace accidentally blocked Suarez from coming out of a stall. Chastain hit the wall at some point, had to go to the garage and get the car fixed up, but was able to continue the race and ultimately finish with a functioning car. Larson had a mechanical issue that I've already mentioned, led to his elimination, and then the madness began. Caution got thrown for debris on the track. The restart happened, and Byron, Logano, Elliott, and Briscoe all got spun on the same lap. Christopher Bell managed to catch up to Kevin Harvick by the time another caution came out. During the second restart, Austin Syndra got spun out in the chicane, all scraping and clawing and for position, and ended up getting eliminated from the playoffs because of it. Cole Custer put a block on Austin Dillon that forced Eric Jones to check up, which allowed Chase Briscoe to make that bonsai pass on all 3 that I mentioned earlier, ultimately garnering him enough points to put himself in the next round and eliminate the defending champion. Custer's block is currently under investigation by NASCAR for the possibility of Stewart-Haas Racing rigging the race to allow Briscoe into the round of 8, even though they clarified that whatever they dig up won't affect the standings. Christopher Bell ultimately won that race, which contributed to the playoff bubble shenanigans. This was all in less than 20 laps! With the recaps done, it's time to adjust my predictions for the round of 8 and the championship 4. Again. I feel like I have to adjust things when the round of 8 ends too. Things are par for the course here for the most part, but I think you noticed one particular change. I won't mention it here because that's coming up in just a moment. Copy paste what I said about Byron from the last video and Logano from the first. Briscoe and Bell will probably need miracles to get through, especially Bell. But I don't think that will happen. Kind of strange how there's basically 2 grids what will happen here. 2 of them are copy paste, 2 need miracles. I guess that's just how similar their situations are at the moment. With Kyle Larson, our defending champion, now out of the picture, things are going to get crazy. I feel as though Denny Hamlin now has a legitimate shot at the championship. And I could see it going to either him or Chase Elliott. I honestly don't know who to choose. Or it could go to Ryan Blaney, who I still think would reach the championship for. Or it could go to the driver who I've kind of had second thoughts about since my initial prediction for him. Yep, I'm going that route. Ross Chastain makes it. I remember saying that Hamlin or someone else would ruin Chastain's chances at a championship appearance. And while I still have a feeling that might happen, I'm not so certain about it anymore. There's been plenty of chances for Chastain to be junked out of the playoffs, but it just hasn't happened. I think Chastain staying under the radar after his aggressive driving at several different points in the regular season has helped him and other drivers cool off about the entire endeavor. I suppose we'll just wait to see which of my Chastain predictions comes to fruition. Will he advance? Will he get wrecked out? Will he get eliminated through more natural means like Daniel Suarez did? We'll see which is right in the coming few weeks. And that will do it for the round of 12 recap and my predictions for the round of 8. If you guys like this video, leave a like on it. And if you want to see more NASCAR content or even some video game related content down the line, hit the subscribe button and have your notifications turned on so you won't miss an upload. Take care, y'all. Ace Delta 12 out.